All right, joining me now with reaction to tonight's breaking news that the DOJ Inspector General will finally investigate potential FISA abuses by the DOJ and the FBI. He is the chairman of the House Intel Committee, and he's been frankly in the forefront while his colleagues have been lazy. Devin Nunes is with us. Congressman, I'm reaching a point of frustration here. We're talking about with these new struck page memos, this was within the 3,000-plus page dump that we finally got at the last minute that you had to subpoena. There's 1.2 million documents, Congressman, and I applaud Chairman Goodlatte, but as we just heard from Congressman Chaffetz, he asked for these documents in 2016. How is it possible that Rod Rosenstein feels that he has the right to withhold this not only from the American people, but Congress, people like you and Bob Goodlatte, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee? Your job is oversight. We do have checks and balances the last time I checked the Constitution, sir.
So the more they dig, the worse it gets for them, Sean. So we have to keep working. We have to keep breaking through this. But as I've said, eventually we're going to get all of these documents. So let me just walk back a little bit of the history that we have with Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page. In October, I asked what had happened. Didn't get any information. What had happened, between Strzok and Page. Didn't know. Had asked for, we asked, is there anything there that we need to see? Well, finally, we see a leak to the Washington Post of text messages. At that point, finally, in December, I asked DOJ to send me everything that was pertinent and relevant to our investigation. And as you know, at that time, we had informed Department of Justice that we were looking at them for FISA abuse and other matters. So they produced some of the text messages, which is fine. They did that. They said that was all we needed. Well, then a couple months later, a few more text messages show up. A couple weeks ago, there's the conversation between Mr. Strzok and Ms. Page talking about the FISA court judge. Clearly, that would have been something that the House Intelligence Committee would have been interested in. And now the emails and text messages that you're talking about today on the show, Sean, I have not seen them. However, now that you have them, we're going to have to go try to look through all this to try to piece together what it appears several reporters have now pieced together. What's your initial
impression? Do you agree with what Sara believes and I believe?
Well, I was talking to a few members of Congress today. And these are people who, don't follow this closely. They're not on the House Intelligence Committee, but they follow it just by the news. And they were shocked. They were shocked. Matter of fact, they used a few expletives because they couldn't believe that the White House, the Obama White House, was being briefed by the FBI on an investigation into the Trump campaign. They couldn't believe it. And I think that's the reaction you're going to get from most members of Congress that care about this issue, at least the Republicans. And I think you're going to see the American people.
When you have McDonough and the White House,
it continues to stink.
And then you have, remember, obviously Obama knew. Obviously Susan Rice knew. Obviously James Comey was informing them. Obviously, and this is a very sticky point, because in January of 2017, then President-elect Trump was told by James Comey the dossier is salacious and unverified. But 3 months earlier, he's using it, and the FBI is using it as the bulk of an application for a FISA warrant against the campaign associate of Donald Trump in the lead up to a presidential election, which allows them to then spy on the emails of an opposition party candidate. This is not a game. This is now, to me, the biggest abuse of power scandal we've had in history. You get these ridiculous people on the left making insane Watergate analogies, but Watergate was a cheap break-in, a third-rate break-in. This is about the powerful tools of intelligence. This is about the FBI, DOJ exonerating a presidential candidate from crimes we know that were committed, then using Russian information that they didn't verify, not telling a FISA court the whole truth. It's like, what do we need to get the wheels of justice really churning here? Because I know I'm fed up, and my audience is fed up.
Yeah, so there's a lot of irony in that, right? So the left has continued to say that this is Watergate and, Trump's going to be impeached. They've continued that. Well, now this is effectively boomeranged on them. And, you have at least, I think, half of the American people now know that the other party, the Democrats, appear like they weaponize to some degree the intelligence services, by using the foreign intelligence surveillance apparatus in this country to go and target the opposition campaign is totally unacceptable. And that's what happened here. And so people are beginning to learn the truth. So I am happy that Bob Goodlatte subpoenaed these 1.2 million documents. But I said this earlier in the week. We need those documents like yesterday. Yesterday we needed those documents. And what I think now, the difference where we were from a few months ago, because of the obstruction, because of the cover-up, the pressure that the American people are now putting on Congress by making everybody aware of this, asking their congressmen, why is it the Department of Justice can stonewall Congress for this long? I believe that Bob Goodlatte's subpoena is going to be enforced. I think we're going to get all the documents. And if we don't, then we should move quickly to contempt, and then we should move to impeachment. One of the mistakes we made is we never impeached Lois Lerner and we never impeached Costigan. Had we have done that,
with it.
We wouldn't be here today. They got away with it.
Do you have faith in the Inspector General? Because now he's going to be investigating the FISA abuses, as he announced today. I'm frustrated because we've been all over this story since your memo came out. But if I was James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Sally Yates tonight, Rod Rosenstein, Strzok and Page, Andrew McCabe, I would be very worried tonight based on the possibility that all of this is coming out. And if we had an honest Inspector General, then I am thinking that some of them might be in legal jeopardy in a big way.
Well, so let me tell you about the Inspector General. Here's what I believe. Okay, they have a job to do. So this is part of the job that they should be doing. I believe that Mr. Horowitz, from everything that I hear, that he's an honorable man and he's going to do his job. But remember, there's a lot of pressures that come with that because the Inspector General, ultimately, his boss is the Department of Justice. So this is not a simple move for the Inspector General to make, to go after the top people in the FBI. This is why I think I'm glad that Mr. Horowitz is going to continue to look into this. But I also have a lot of concerns about that there's no one else looking into this because you can't. How are you going to get? How are you going to have Mr. Comey testify to the Inspector General? He's not going to sit for an interview with the Inspector General, and neither is Mr. McCabe.
So we need a special counsel, as
Gregg
Jarrett was saying. You made a conclusion after 14 months. You have no evidence of the Trump campaign and collusion, nor any evidence of any financial impropriety with the Trump organization and the campaign. But yet, even after 14 months of a media breathlessly and hysterically reporting, and your so-called counterpart, an MSNBC wannabe contributor, Adam Schiff, who actually shows up on Russian TV, which is a little ironic. After all of that, they still, how long, do they want this investigation in perpetuity? Is that what they're looking for, to slow the country down in the agenda of the president?
What I find amazing is that we have a 250-page report. We have 70 findings and recommendations. The Democrats had none. Okay, that's sitting now. We finally sent that over so it can be declassified so the American people can read all of the great work that our committee has done over the last 14 months. Yet, find me one mainstream media outlet, just find me one that has actually done any coverage whatsoever of any significance on the 70 findings and recommendations that we came out with last week. You won't find it.
They're too busy trying to act like Jerry Springer. Last question. You've watched our coverage. If anything I've reported that's been wrong, or Sara, or John, or Gregg Jarrett, or Jay Sekulow, or Tom Fitton, or any of the people, Sebastian Gorka?
No, look, Sean, I think you guys have been ahead of the curve on this. A lot of times there is information that some of the reporters you mentioned, they have it well before the Congress has it.
That's unbelievable.
And I know, and it's very tough. It's very, very tough work that they're having to get through because you have so many people. If you come out with a story, even though it's true, just like this story tonight about these text messages that you guys have uncovered, you're not going to see this covered in the mainstream media. You're not going to see it. I guarantee you it won't happen over the next week.
All right. We need the 1.2 million documents, and we need a special counsel. Congressman Nunes, thank you for trying to be transparent and honest to the American people. We appreciate it more than you know.